Hey everybody, welcome to the Dad Poet Society. We're trying to help dads be better dads and just carpe the dad life, seize that dad life. There is no better life, right?
That's it.
That's it. So I'm here with one of my good friends, Eric Girdler. He's the man, the myth, the life. Like every time we talk, I walk away and I'm like, wow, I'm a better human being for just having lunch today, So just kind of, a lot of the inspiration for this was, we'd have our business meetings, but the next, majority of it was we're talking about, being a dad and being not so much being a dad and a husband, but more importantly, things we were working on to be a better dad and to be a better husband. So that's kind of the whole goal of this is just whatever we chat about today,
cool.
Take this, take what you need, make yourself better, and just keep it going. So, but I know you have.
Hopefully, I'll learn something.
Hopefully,
right? Hopefully, I can take something back, and it'll help me with my soon-to-be 12-year-old.
So. All right, soon-to-be 12-year-old. So yeah, but that's intense. I'm 8 years away from Julia being there, so
that's probably why I have some experience that you enjoy because I've already been through
those
years.
Done that. Been there, done that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I know you're gonna have a lot of great tips. So all of you, pull out your dad portfolios as well, and let's get rolling here. So
Love it.
I love this break. It just brings me joy and cracks me up every time.
It's old school.
So it was like my 8th birthday.
Yeah.
My dad, speaking of dad stuff, my dad got it for me and made me feel like a big kid. And I think I carried around just my drawings or whatever. I still have.
Made you feel like your dad though, right?
Yeah, it was awesome.
It's cool when kids can look up to their dads.
Yeah.
I feel like my dad, right? I remember having briefcases around the house. But that was kind of everybody carried a briefcase. All the sitcoms, everything, all that stuff, right? The dad always had the briefcase. So that was kind of a sign of you were...
must be a dad.
You were corporate, yeah. You were corporate dad there, so.
That dad is corporation-y, so. But awesome, man. Well, yeah, I guess so if you want to kind of share a little bit, about your family and kind of where you're at in the phase of fatherhood, and then we can kind of keep rolling from there.
Yeah. So I'm the most scared I've ever been.
Okay.
Right, we're heading into some teen years with my daughter, but rewind a little bit. It I don't know. It's been a blur, but it's been awesome, right?
Okay.
Watching her grow up and in her short time, but just how she sees the world and how she's viewing things, right? And then now we're getting to the point where. It takes more confidence to kind of get through being a kid right now, and she's got to build that. And we're talking about gut instinct and being responsible for yourself. So it's all stuff. I mean, it's really cool, but it's been fun. And my wife and I've been married. Oh gosh, it'll be 18 years this year.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
it can be done.
Yep.
Can be done.
Can be done. It's mostly because my wife is awesome. And I'm married up, right?
Yep. Yeah, me too. Me too. Thank you, Erica.
Yeah. Joke's on them, right? Who says we're not all salespeople?
Oh, that's right. That's right, man.
But yeah, so been married, 18 years. We had my daughter almost 12 years ago, and yeah, it's really been. I think it's been great because my wife and I have been partners in the whole thing too, right? Like she. My wife is wonderful, and where I drop the ball, she definitely picks up that, and vice versa. So we communicate together, and we try and play our roles as best we can.
I like
Which I'm
that.
sure you're dealing with now too, right?
Yeah, it's parenting partners, man. Like that parenting partnership, like that's and I always feel like when I'm talking about Erica and I feel like I'm not always like painting. I like to joke around like the whole like the rough parts and the rough but that's kind of like how I cope with like life is that this crazy thing that stressed me out, so I'm gonna make a joke about it, you know. But like just but it you know, having that communication and being on the same page, like it, I don't know about you, man, but like it's important to be on the same page, but understand that, you know, there's two different books, there's two different novels,
right? Roles
that just rolled into one, and like, yeah, you're on the same page, right? This is what I would do with the 6-year-old and 4-year-old in my world, but like, you know, just again, over food, over sleep, over this, over that, it's and I think that's what I'm realizing is a lot as well. Talking about like remembering our upbringing is a lot of, whether we like it or not, a lot of our talking about the gut instinct, like our instinctually how I parent is how I was parented,
right?
And then same thing with Erica. So it's like our upbringing is like both of our parents amazing, you know, awesome people, but just very different.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, we're on the same page. We want what's best for the kids. We want to feed them, right? We want them to have food in their bellies, and
clothes,
clothes are important.
Some school,
So, right? So just kind of, but it's yeah, man. I guess is that there's something that kind of works for you in that partnership where it's like you're always going to be battling in a good way. Just, hey, this is what, you know, she thinks is the thing for X, and you think, well, I think this is the thing for X, and like, how do you like? Is there any strategies for kind of coming to that meeting in the middle? I mean, that's a partnership. You got to meet in the middle. Like, you can't get what you want all the time. Like, you can't like just have everything your way.
Yeah, and you don't want it to be, right? Because we can't always think we're the right ones, right? And I think that what I've learned is it's not about being right. Right? When it comes to a husband, wife, and raising kids, it's not about who's right. It's about what's best for the family first, and then the kid second. Right? Because we have to, you know, you have to be on the same page as much as possible. And, you know, for the short time that I've been a parent, you know, we've done a good job of that. And, you know, the joking around part, right? Like, hey, I just do what my wife would do. I could say that in a lot of cases, right? I do think of that. I say to myself, you know, man, you know, how would Lauren handle this, right? If she's not there, or and you know, but we're pretty much on the same page, and we talk about it a lot. You know, if there's things, if it's a huge decision, right? We don't make it ourselves. We talk about it, right? And if it's, you know, the minor stuff, just go with it, right? Best interest is, you know, you're doing things with the right heart for the right reasons, then it's going to be okay.
Gotcha. Yeah, right? It's, and you talk about like marrying up, like it definitely, like even, you know, there's been so many things in, so it'll be 9 years marriage this year for us, so 9 years. So we're halfway, we're at 50% Girdler status, but it's just wild too, like, so, like looking back, like there's so many things I was so like steadfast and like, this is what the right thing is, and like I said, it's not about right, it's about best, but like just like having to like basically like pull the roots of my being out, you know, and just kind of you know, I don't know how where this is going with this plant comparison, but it was like you're pulling your roots out over here and like replanting them and watering them and over here, where it's just like so many times I thought I was right, but I was not, you know what I mean? So like being open to like, all right, maybe I don't have all the answers, and
you don't want to have them all right, because then you're closed-minded, and we know in our professional lives that's the quickest way to failure, right? It's being closed-minded. So you don't want to be doing that. but yeah, the parenting and working together, it's a constant thing, right? It's never a battle. It's just got to be a constant progression where you work on it. We're getting to the point now in our family that, I'm scared, right? I'm heading into teen years. My daughter's doing a great job. I'm super proud of her, but there's things, and I just hope at the end of the day, if anything comes up, she knows I can talk to my dad, I can talk to my mom, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you have to be brutally honest with kids when they ask you questions at that age, right? You have to tell them the truth, but
you can't sugarcoat it anymore.
No, and well, they have to, and you want them to come to you, right? Because I tell my daughter all the time, her friends probably are wrong with whatever they think they're talking about. So, or they're just repeating something they heard. Right. Most kids just repeat stuff that they've heard. So, and there's been a few instances where she's actually brought stuff to us, and I'm like, man, this is awesome. Right? Yeah. So you praised her for it, and and the situation's worked out really well so far.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Is there anything like that you've done that has helped like keep that line of communication open, or like just something that you could like say to fellow dads of like, hey, just I try to make sure I
never for sure, right? Never get mad in that situation, right? Never show anger, right? Never make her feel like she did something wrong at that moment, right? If there's a teaching moment, you have to use it, right? Or you have to almost coach your children in some ways. But in the moment, right, sometimes you have to be able to set that aside, so you're not, all you're going to do is just trigger your kids' emotions, and then there's nothing to talk about there, right?
Yeah, when the emotions are high, logic is low.
That's it. They have more trouble controlling their amygdalas than adults do, right?
Yep.
So, they're not even sure. And we've talked to my daughter about like, hey, this is what we're talking about. Here's your emotions, right?
Yep.
Like,
here it is.
Let it rip, man. Get it out of you, right? Yeah, and then as soon as she calms down, it's like we can have that open conversation.
Yep.
But it took, it was quite some time where, if she was upset, triggered, whatever the case was, right? It was just, it's the thing for me as a parent, right? It doesn't go for everybody, but just to really focus on staying calm, right? Use those skills, sit back in your seat, fold your legs and just kind of breathe and talk softer. All the skills that we learn as professionals, just at a different level, right? To help a child through that.
What's wild too is like, and this kind of goes like one of the first questions that we ask is, what do you do when you're not on dad duty? So just kind of, I guess, transitioning. You can kind of we can transition into that, but I want to kind of keep this example going because I feel like a lot of we're not perfect at work, but I feel like at work, it's even when you're feeling like you're all wound up, it is easier to be like, well, I need to stay calm. I need to,
be on high alert all the time,
right? Yeah. And then it's like, but then you get home, and it's just you're wore out. I mean, like, and it's not so much, it's your willpower, and there's a lot more science and stuff behind it, but I just remember like, reading about like how you're just end of the day, like you usually eat worse, and you like it's most people that plan to exercise in the afternoon evening don't, not because anything other than they've used, it's like you only have so much in the tank,
right? And
then it just starts to deplete. So I guess, how do you do that when it's like, hey, I've been, like you're talking about, like you almost weren't here for this because this flight's canceled, this flight's canceled, we're flying in, you got in at what, 3 a.m.? 3 a.m. Yep. Okay, 3, and he's here, so that's commitment, man. That is a dad, right? Yep. 3 a.m. don't matter, I'm here. But the
show up.
Yeah. So like, are there certain things that you kind of help maybe like a good trigger of like, or something that you say to yourself like to stay calm, like how you like remind yourself when you are depleted and that willpower is low, like still stay calm and
Yeah, right. And I failed at it. Let me be honest, right? There's been times where I failed at it for sure.
Yep.
But more often than not, I've been able to not fail, right?
Yes,
so
which is good.
Yeah, you add up those wins and you're
right.
good, right? But what you have
Count
to
it.
remember too is, the home for me is the place where our family can be what they want to be, right? They can, if they had a tough day, right, you can come home and you can vent, right? If you have you can
the safe space.
come home. It's super safe, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure. I think it was Brene Brown. I was listening to one of her books because I was trying to learn more about, I was doing a bunch of stuff for diversity in the workplace and all this stuff. So I was like, hey, Brene Brown, great, right? And she was talking about our kids and how, if your kids, they come home from school and they just go crazy for like a half hour. Because my daughter would come home and I'd be like, what is wrong with her? Like, and, you get mad, you want to yell at them, go to your room or whatever. Yeah. And she was like, look, your kid just behaved all day long.
Right.
Your kid just did everything you ever asked them to do all day long. And they get to their most comfortable place in their life and they just need to let loose. And after I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what is making me, right, triggering me is why is she doing this when it's a good thing? Because she's not doing it in front of her teachers or at her class or whatever. So, and I think that, I don't know if I'm answering the question totally, but.
Well, I think that's important, like, for anybody watching this, listen, like, it's normal. Right, it's not like your kid isn't having some malfunction, right? Like your kid isn't a bad kid, but it's self-aware, like that emotional touch, like that awareness to be like, you walk in the door, or they walk in the door, to be like, hey, it's gonna be 30 minutes, an hour of just
let it rip,
go out, have a good time, and and just like, but not whole. I think it's like it's hard because. I mean, JJ's only 6 and Julia's only 4, but it's so easy to just naturally start talking to them like they're adult. Like it's I think it's like
you're still in work mode.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's just like, what are you talking about? Like, what's going on? That's like, that document needs to be turned in. Blah, blah, blah. So just like,
still in work
but,
mode, still
like,
in pro
there's
mode.
a deadline for that homework. Let's go. But just, we got to talk to accounting. It's super important. Like, just an understanding, just knowing that is important. Did you tell me to read The Female Brain?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
But now I probably have to read it too.
Okay. Yeah. We would definitely have talked about it before, but like the female brain, I think that'd be a great, even if you don't have a daughter, but it's like, she goes from like basically birth all the way to like, when you're a senior citizen or whatever, you're like older age, like, but she'll start with, here's how this is what's going on in the brain, like the hormones, and like, here's what's happening. Yeah. And then she'll also say, in a boy's brain, here's what's happening. So it's like, you do get like both sides of everything. But one of the things that, and I don't know if like Lydia's like sleeping in more now or anything. But
oh my gosh, 10. So, okay. She'll sleep till 10:30 if I let her.
Yep. Right. And so one of those things that I pulled from that, and like here I am. I read a book. Now I can help you with your 12-year-old, right? So, but like,
thank you.
That was like one of the things that stuck out to me is what the author was saying is that there's so many parents that are just like, it becomes this fight, like you become nemesis because you see that like they're gonna sleep in all day because biologically that's what's happening. Is like they're slowly over their childhood sleeping a little more. So it's like they're not lazy, like they're not neglecting anything, but that's just like they're I'm not using the right, I'm not a scientist, but like the science to it, but it's just like, I mean, like it's just, so
that's
for
when
them
they grow too.
Correct. So for them sleeping in is literally their body, like that's the most normal thing it can do at that age. But it's like when did you become so lazy? When did you, because I don't know about you, like,
oh man, you're making me feel a kind of way right now because I'm like, what are you always on the couch for? Why are you relaxing all the time?
You know what I mean? But like, but it's, it's just one of those things. But it's you're not coming at her as like, well, what's going on with, like, you're not worried about her hanging on the couch. You're worried about, are you becoming somebody who is not going to be able to make it on their own or succeed in life? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, and it might be, a lot of it's instinctual, right? Yeah, like, we're not saying out loud, like, saying, hey, why are you on the couch? Because I'm worried about your future and I really want you to, I really love you so very much. We're just, like, why are you on the couch? Like, whatever, So
just because we can't sleep past 4 a.m.
Crazy, like, just because I work at 3, 4 a.m., right. So, and I remember, like, my dad still always calls us every morning, just check in, but I remember I was in college, and he'd be calling at 8. It was like 8 a.m., 8:30. Like, now 8 a.m. like, day's over, man. Like, it's like, good luck. Break. Good luck getting anything done, right? It's 8 a.m. Too much going on. But I remember, like, I'd wake up and he'd be calling, like, Dad, like, what? Why are you up so early? So it's like, it's just kind of one of those things where, again, anybody watch this, and just, I was glad I was able to offer you something, but just kind of like that sleep cycle just changes with your life cycle. And I didn't know that, so, but there's a lot of cool, especially the teenagers, there's a lot of really cool stuff in there that I'm going to have to definitely go back. But
the female brain, I'll have to check that out.
Female brain. Very, very good read. Very good read. And I think Julia was 2, and I was trying to figure out why won't she sleep? Why won't she sleep? And why did she just? Oh man.
That's also what I've learned is we think too much. We overthink things as dads, for sure, right? And parents. I know anytime there's anything, I'm always like, oh my gosh, what's wrong, right? And that's been something I've had to overcome throughout the last 12 years, but still working on that.
Still working on it. Work in progress. Because I feel like we need, like, construction signs say "Dad in progress." So
it's always changing, right? You have to change with the kids as they go through their phases, right? I had no idea that that's an actual real thing. I just thought my kid is one of these that sleeps till 10:30 if you let her.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So it's normal. You know what I mean? Like, so every kid's different, but like, it just that phase is normal. So, but well, cool, man. So, like, obviously we've gotten into a lot of the dad stuff. Is there anything else, things that you don't do when you're, I shouldn't say don't do, like, so when you're not on dad duty, which, I guess technically never ends, but like, what do you enjoy doing, or what's,
I enjoy being a kid. Like, I like to ride bikes. I like to go out and play golf. I like to do things, right? I like to, obviously if I'm not working, right, or on dad duty, then it's, I like to go out and have fun. Like I always have, I don't ever want to grow old, even though I want to be wise, right?
Right.
I don't want to grow old, but I want to be wise for my kid. And, so even when I'm not on dad duty, sometimes I just like to, just be that way, right?
It's not about growing older, it's about growing wiser.
I
love it.
I'm not going to get old. I refuse.
All right, and 2, you got to share a little more. Like, you don't just ride a bike. Like, you're like going through like all kinds of trails. Like, you got a bike.
Yeah.
Like,
so I love the mountain bike, right? Because it's that feeling, right? I mean, just that you're free. You're just, you're challenging yourself on the uphill, right? And then you're just smiling and free on the downhill, and you're just letting it loose. And we call it sending it, right? Just send it. And but what's nice is it's, my brother and I, we do it together.
That's cool.
We got a guys trip coming up in May. Actually, we're going to Moab, Utah.
All right.
Which is like the mountain biking mecca.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is our second go at it. So, no, we're pretty serious with that, right? I think as you get older, your toys and your hobbies just, you can do more with them if you.
Yes.
And just like anything else in life.
It's like you don't call up your brother and like, hey man, you want to ride around the neighborhood? Like, hey, let's ride around Utah, like on a mountain, So very cool. So like So this is your second time. The first time, did you guys like not make? And excuse my ignorance, but like,
Yeah.
did you not make it the whole way, and you got to go back for
there's
revenge?
no. Well, no. I mean, there's never like you're never gonna do it all, right? There's just so much.
So much.
But
Okay. Gotcha.
It's we were in North Carolina last year, riding together and stuff. But we probably won't go back there, right? Moab's just like the place.
The place.
Yeah, if you're gonna go somewhere.
All right.
We have a couple other ones on our bucket list of places we want to ride. But yeah, so I like to do that, and then play golf, right?
Yep. This guy actually forced me to be like, James, you have to pay attention to how far your irons go. We're gonna write it down, right? That was like the first time. Like, okay, all right. So you're like, okay, so you hit your 5-iron roughly here, right? You hit your 4-iron roughly here. And so just kind of, yeah. So it's and now I'm addicted, man. Well, I'm addicted. I love golf.
Yeah, and golf was one of the things we're talking about being a parent, right? Like my parents, they. And I'm sure it was not near as fun as I thought it was for them, but they would take us golfing when we were kids all the time, right? And now I look back, I'm like, man, my dad probably just wanted to go out and play, right? And not have to deal with his kids.
Yeah.
He even had we had a pull cart, and he had this little seat that would flap down.
Okay.
That goes over the wheel on the pull cart.
Okay.
So when I'd get tired,
as
a kid, he would just pop that down, and I'd sit down in between, and we'd go and stuff. So, he always took care of us. But, golf is a sport that I grew up doing with my family, and I still play golf with my parents, which is super awesome.
Yeah, so isn't it like you, your dad, and your brother, don't you guys do like little golf trips too, or
we have
golf get-togethers?
Yeah, we have, right? But not as much. We just. When we're together, we play golf for sure.
Yeah.
But our trips have been more on the adrenaline side of life lately. So.
Yeah, man. My bucket list said that I want to go biking with you one day. Maybe. It's like I'm gonna write that in my bucket list in pencil, just in case I could.
No, we'll go for sure. Put it in pen.
I'll be yelling at you from the bottom.
There are so many different levels of trails around here. In fact, this area of Ohio they've done so much for that sport in this area. So there's plenty of things to do, and they're even starting to do it on the east side out here. Okay. Yeah, they built some stuff out by in Geauga County.
Okay, whereabouts?
Big Creek.
Big Creek.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's right there, right between Concord and Chardon there.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So and again, there's stuff for all levels. In fact, I took my my wife and daughter one year. They have some great little trails for families and stuff, and they enjoyed it. Yeah. So.
I'll go with you on the family trail. I'm cool with the kid trail. Yeah. So beginner's phase. So
you just have to trust me. That's the kid trail.
Yeah, I won't know any different. Like wow.
Yep,
like
that's it.
What are you doing to me? But awesome, man. Well, very good. Anything else that you would add to that, or?
Yeah, hey, I'd like to hang out, right, with friends too, right? Yep. Just kind of let loose, have a good meal, right?
Food is good.
Yeah,
food is delicious.
Great meal, good conversation, laugh a little. At ourselves, mostly.
Yes, mostly, yes. There's a lot to laugh about. So.
Yeah, it's amazing we're all still here sometimes. Yes. So. Good. But that's what I kind of do when I'm not being a dad and family stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So take it back to the beginning, man. So how did becoming a dad change your life? So kind of walk me through, like, you're about to have the baby, and then she's here, and you're holding her for the first time. Like, what was that like? What happened, and then where did it go from there?
So our path to having children was different than most, right?
Okay.
We had a lot of issues early on. So when we finally got to that day, right? Like, it was just the miracle.
Yeah.
And I remember my daughter was breech, so she wanted to come out sideways. And I should have known there was going to be issues, right? And so there was an emergency C-section, and I don't know if you were natural or C-section, but they have this like curtain up, and
Okay.
I'm back here with my wife, and then this curtain's up, and they're doing all this stuff.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So my daughter comes out, and they're like, oh, and they hold her up, and I immediately jump up and start to reach over. Like, I thought that was okay.
Yeah.
And the doctor's like, no, what do you, like, you can't do that. And he said, he's like, nobody has ever done that. And I was like, oh, I thought it was normal, right? And then they walked the baby around, and
I just want to hold my daughter.
I did. I was just like, I couldn't believe it, man. We spent so much money and
Yeah.
so much time and effort and pain
Yeah.
to get to this point.
Yeah.
And then there she was.
Yeah.
You know, and I just like, I don't know.
It's magical, man.
It was.
Yeah.
I jumped up and I reached over, and my wife's doctor talks about that story. So like that was the first time he's ever seen that.
Never seen it, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then
That's
and then it just got real, I think, at that point, right?
Yeah.
Like every day it just got more real and real,
Yep.
and then all of a sudden we have this baby at home. And my wife's recovering from
Dude.
surgery.
You remember, like, you first get home and you're just like, oh, like, they really let us do this? Like, they really, like,
Yeah.
there's no more nurses, there's no more doctors, like, there's no more, like,
Right.
like, we just go from here? Like, this is, like, nothing happened? Like,
My daughter was born in the summer, and it was one of those summer thunderstorms. And I'm driving her home,
oh my gosh.
and my wife, I remember it, man.
Yeah.
My knuckles were white, my hands were
Yeah.
sore because I squeezed that steering.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
it was just,
Precious cargo.
it was weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, but then you get them home, and you're right, like, huh? Now what? And I was telling you earlier, I remember like my daughter would sleep so still that I was always scared, right? Because you read all the books, you read all the stuff,
Yep.
and you're just like, everything that happens, you're
Everything's
nervous.
terrifying, dude. Everything's terrifying.
I get up in the middle of the night and I just kind of like poke her a little bit, and she'd twinge, and I'd go back to bed, and you know,
Yep.
it took me about a good month to get over that, and then
Yeah. So, yeah, because you would watch, like, I remember watching JJ and just being like, it's like, come on, man, come on. And then I would see, like, it's like a little chest going, and you're just like, all right,
Right.
cool. So,
yeah,
still in business. We're still here. So, but,
yeah.
cool. What else changed for you, man?
My golf game.
Yes.
Yeah, I used to have a much lower handicap, but that's okay. That's not. I know that's more of a guy just saying something.
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I think, but
sarcastic,
I think that's important though, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Is, you know, what game are you really playing? Like, what game are you really looking? What's the ultimate game that, as a dad, you should be focusing on winning and getting better? And it's like,
Yeah.
You're not as your score is not as good as it was golfing, but it's like golf will always be there, right?
Right.
I mean, it's not going away, but you know, it will. I guess. How did you deal with like the new like sacrifices and the new thing?
Yeah.
Where you, I can't just do what I want anymore. I can't just like, you know. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not all about me.
Yeah. So again, I have a wonderful wife.
Yep.
Who
Me too.
she's a school teacher, so
Yep.
she was, and the baby came in the summer, so she was off. She was off like the first 6 months of my daughter's life because of how that worked, right? 'Cause
Okay,
she had all
that's
these
awesome.
years in. Yeah, it was, right?
Yeah.
So that gave me the ability to still kind of do things here and there.
Yeah.
It wasn't as much, but my wife was supportive of that. You know, but yeah, I mean, I feel like I worked a lot more. I questioned things as before I spent money on, you know, things that maybe weren't as important, right? Because, you know, now you're thinking, oh, you know, college or business, right? Because I always said, hey, you know, she can start a business, she can go to college, whatever, right? I just want to be able to support her in that time of her life. And just
You look at so much of your stuff and like,
yeah.
like, did I really need that? What, like, why was that so important? Like,
Yeah.
you know, so. But
And I worked more. I worked more hours just because of that. At that point in my life, I was, you know, in a much different situation. So, you know, I was really kind of focused on that. And yeah, you just start to question a lot of stuff, right? When you first have that baby, and I don't know, it's real. And then you have to try and learn their routines, right? And it felt like as soon as I understood her, it would change.
Boom.
Yeah. She's like, nah, Dad, not yet. Right? We're gonna do something
Like,
different. Now.
I got this figured out.
Yeah.
I'm on it now. And then then the next 24 hours happens, and It's completely different. Completely different.
You know, we spent a lot more time with family after she was born, right? Because the grandparents were always around. Everybody, the cousins, aunt and uncles want to come see the new baby, and so that was. We always spent a lot of time.
I felt so guilty because it was like, as soon as JJ was born, and it's like, well, what are you gonna do? You know, it's like, well, let's go hang at my mom's house, or let's go, you know, like, and just kind of. I'm like, why didn't I just do this before you know? But like, so sorry, Mom, but just, but also too, like, going through that whole, like, the labor, having the baby and Lauren and Erica having, like, doing everything that they did. I remember the first time I saw my mom after JJ was born, I like went up to her, I'm like, I have no idea why we celebrate my birthday. We should not be celebrating me. Like, it should be. We are throwing a party for you because holy cow, that was crazy. You know, so just kind of, man, definitely
you appreciate your parents a lot more.
Oh,
once you have kids, right? You're like, man, I still do it. I think, how did they feed my brother and I when we were kids?
Yeah,
just that one thing alone. I look at what we deal with, right? And we have, small group, but. Yeah, you appreciate your parents a lot more once you start having kids.
Way more. Like, now I get it.
Yeah.
Now I get it, you know? So, but very cool, man. So, what else changed? Anything that, like, sticks out to you?
Oh, man.
I mean, besides everything.
Yeah, I mean, that was a long time ago, right? But, I think for me, it was just more of a focus on priorities at that point, right? Like, it was just the next thing. When I got married, life changed because now I'm responsible for the start of that family. And then my daughter comes along, and now I felt responsible, right, as the man, right? The traditional man of the house. And my wife worked and all that stuff, but we, I feel like you just get more focused on your priorities, right? And you start to think about priorities. You start to think about that kind of stuff in your life. And, I feel like at that time, I maybe stopped hanging out with certain crowds and different things, right? And started to kind of start to migrate more different. I don't want to call it like maturing, right? But you just change, right? You change for what it was important. My priorities got a lot stronger in my family, so that created a whole ripple effect throughout my whole life, right?
And before we had kids, like, all my buddies that had kids, and I'm like, man, like, they use kids as an excuse for everything. Oh, sorry, I can't, kids are sick, or hey, I gotta, sorry, the kid's this, the kid's that.
Guilty, right?
Yeah, and so, like, dude, like, but it's like, holy cow, the kids, especially like in the early, like when they're younger, like, they're sick all the time, and you're like, but two, it's like, hey, we can hang out, like, definitely want to hang out, but you want to just come over and watch JJ like roll around the floor, like, so just and it wasn't
ring the bell,
and it wasn't like my friends that had kids before we did. It was, you would go to the birthday party or you would go to whatever, and you just like, you'd be like, you just really couldn't understand. And then you had the kid, and you're like, so it's like you start hanging out more with people with kids,
right?
Because you can only do only certain things fall into like where can we hang out, how can we hang out, like, and like got nap time, you got diaper, you got all that, so
go around the schedule.
Yes.
And I feel like sometimes too, right, like, the kid might be sick, so you don't go out, but also everybody had a really good day and you're tired and you just kind of want to enjoy the fact that the day went great, so you want to just stay home, right? I remember, like, my wife and I, it was after a good day, right, when we put my daughter down, like, that was time where we could be together then, right? Like, we could watch a movie or talk about this or have dinner together or something, right? And I mean, I feel like sometimes that, even when it's good, you still don't want to go because you're just like, all right, now let's keep the momentum up.
Well, and I think too, is like you start to, I think you nailed that with like your priorities, like you truly start to understand that all, like, I know before kids and just especially like high school, like I always had FOMO. I had that fear of missing, like, oh, if I'm not there for so and so's birthday party, if I'm not out for, like if I don't go out, it's like it was all about like being away from home,
right?
To where it just becomes all about being at home as much as you can. There comes points where he's like, oh, we gotta get out of here, right? But like
For sure,
it's a good problem to have. Is, you know what? I just really want to spend time with my wife.
Yeah.
Like I really just want to spend time with my kid. You know what I mean? Like and it's not that you don't love or care about anybody else outside those four walls, but it's like this is the most important place to be with the most important people that will ever be in my life.
Yeah, take care of your own house first, right?
Yes.
You know, and you're right. And I think too, for young parents, especially, right? Like take those times when the baby does go down to just stay connected to each other, right? Because you're both tired, you're both, it's new for everybody, right? And, as a young married couple who's just starting out having kids, right? Use that time to share, right? How things are going, what we need to do, I mean, it's the more communication, the better, and especially after a good day. Right?
Yes,
because everybody communicates better.
It's way more fun debriefing the summarizing the
Yeah, instead of you did this wrong, it's like, oh, that was great.
That was amazing. That was awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's cool, man. That's cool. So, so kind of like get into next thing I want to ask you is just like what do you love most about being a dad, or like what are some of the things that like stick out the most to you that you love?
The way she loves me, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'll tell you, man, I am not a sissy, but there's times where I gotta hold
push-ups right now to prove it. Right? I'm
gonna drop and do 20 just to prove to everybody.
I will arm wrestle you right now.
Right? But I'll tell you, that moment where that daughter, right, like just out of nowhere, comes up and just squeezes you and says, Dad, I love you.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Thanks, Dad. And you're just, me, right? Like, I'm just fighting it back. Like, cool.
Whatever.
But I really started cherishing those moments and just squeezing her, right? And kissing her on the forehead and saying, I love you too. And her realizing that I am, my wife and I, right? Not just me. I don't want to say we will, no matter what's going on in our life, we'll always be there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And, I was dealing with some medical stuff, and, I'd still go outside and play lacrosse, and she was like, hey, thanks, Dad. I go, well, I go, this is way better than any pain I'm dealing with. So, that doesn't even factor in.
It's kind of like the cheesy Hollywood movie, like, it's like, happiness is the best, like, happiness is, I'm not saying this right, like, what's the best message? I say the happiness is the best. Like happiness.
Yeah, happiness, laughter.
Laughter.
Right,
laughter is the best medicine. Sorry, totally butchered that. So
happiness too, right?
But like just joy. Like just like I was happy before, becoming a dad. But it's like the joy of like there is nothing on earth that can make me feel better than having this time with you and being with you and seeing you smile and feeling,
seeing them happy.
Seeing them happy, but and knowing too, it's like, so you're, excuse my ignorance on lacrosse, like I know you got the thing and you're just like throwing it back and forth, right?
That's
so
about
like,
what I know of it.
You know what I mean? So just kind of like, but just knowing that also too, it's like I'm helping her.
Yeah.
Like she's getting better. Like doing this with her.
Right.
She's gonna be more prepared for whatever comes next tomorrow, kind of thing. So, but that's cool, man.
Yeah, that and right. I would also add like seeing her happy. We're in a world today where a lot of people, they struggle with happiness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a kid who is happy and kind and treats people good, like, my daughter came home with kindness awards from school.
Yeah.
And I was, at first I was like, okay, blood test, right? Whose kid is this? But the point of that is like she's been praised in school for like involving other kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so she's
That's
leading.
awesome.
Yeah, she's leading. She's not following and just
Yeah.
doing what all the groups are doing. She's just kind of leading and doing her own thing, and she accepts everybody, which is great, right? To hear your kid's a good person.
Yep.
Right? You're like, okay.
Well, I mean, like that's. I mean, like I think you and I have worked extremely hard, and like we naturally have a much higher standard of what is success, right? Which is at our own depth. Like there's a lot of times we can look back in life, like I was miserable. I shouldn't have been. I should have been happy,
right?
But I was miserable because I was so focused on, well, I got to get to this. I got to get to this phase in my career. I got to build this, or as soon as we get here, like then I'll be happy, right? And then you get there, but you've already, by the time you get to that goal, you're already 8 goals ahead because you're like, oh yeah, man, we got to get here. We're gonna do this, So, but just like being able to actually like stop and be present, and yeah, man.
Watching the kid be like my daughter when she would like take a shower, right, and she would just sing and sing.
Awesome.
And I was like, I don't even want to complain about her in the shower for a half hour because throughout the whole house she's just belting out these songs, right? And it's like that.
That's amazing, dude.
Yeah, that to me, right,
awesome.
was true happiness because she was happy, right? So her mindset, her frame of mind at that point, right, at a young age was one of happiness, right? We weren't dealing. So that has been one of the greatest things too, right? Just seeing her happy and and then watching her overcome some stuff's been cool.
Yeah.
Right? Because kids got to overcome, and I feel like I always want to step in and be like, hey, Dad's here.
Yeah.
Right, but that's like the worst thing I feel like I could do at this point. In some ways, right?
I try to, as best I can, like, and this is just, again, James' brain, right? This is it. He decided that this is what he's going to do. But, like, I tried to make it so that, like, if they are, like, especially if they're playing and, like, the kids are, like, they're, like, they're going to smash into each other and they're going to get, like, you and I do that. We're, like, in the hospital, right? Just, like, we're broken, But, like, just, like, I try to make sure, like, I'm keeping my eye on them and making sure that, like, they can see me as, like, and I try to, like, trying to as best I can without. I'm trying to read the situation and hold myself. It's like a dog on a leash, right? Because you want to just jump in, right? But like,
you gotta let them test things.
Oh my gosh, you have to. And but I was talking to JJ on the way back from jiu-jitsu a couple months ago. It's like, because they were at the end of class, like they just play. They have this ball and they just play, and then they play soccer, they play dodgeball, whatever. But like, the coach was throwing it, and like they were running to get the ball, and he kind of did one of these shoves. Yeah. Which, again, it's like I know he didn't like in the moment racing towards the ball, consciously like I'm gonna push you and be mean, right? Like I hope I hurt you, kind of thing. But like just. But then it was like, JJ, come here. Like we had a little like, chat, but on the drive back, it was like, JJ's like, I'm very proud of you. Like you did, I know you didn't mean to like, hurt that person or anything like that. And you made sure they're okay. But you're just talking like, JJ, like there's like, until something happens, I can't, there's no way for you to know. There's no way for you to understand or to learn. Like, unfortunately, until like it happens, but it is cool but then you next time around wherever, I'm sure like for Lydia, like lacrosse, like if you have like that one, that coaching dad moment, that lesson, and then you see it show up the next time, and you're just like,
so we've been really trying not to be overly, right? Because there was a time when my daughter was young in sports, I was putting way too much pressure. And I failed so hard. And I'm just glad that she's coming out of it, right? Because, it was I was so disappointed, right, in myself. But I didn't know any better. And, you can't knock a guy for trying.
Right? That's right. That's right. You can't knock a dad for trying.
Right. So. But then when I kind of just took a more supportive, this is a good story too, because like I just got really supportive and, I would just try and help with mindset and stuff like that. But just after this past weekend, my daughter had 2 lacrosse games and a soccer game.
Dang, okay.
And I said, hey, did you reach your personal goals? And she goes, yeah, I did. And she goes, and I feel like I'm coming out of my shell. And I wanted to just spill all kinds of information and coach. And I'm like, that's wonderful, honey.
Yeah.
And I'm dying not to say nothing, right? So I don't want to ruin it because she right there, just her belief in herself just went up, right? And you know what? There's nothing I can say at that point that's going to make it any better because she just said everything that needed said.
Yeah.
Because it came out of her mouth to her brain.
Yep. It's magical, man.
That's
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's that with JJ getting into soccer and then like the jiu-jitsu stuff and then Julia, you're not sure what she'll get into. I mean, like, who knows what they'll actually be into it, but like, again, like you and I, man, like we're wired very like that coach. Like we're like you put it at work.
Yeah.
We're a coach. At home, we're like, it's just, it's our natural, like, you put us in the middle of nowhere, we're gonna start coaching the forest. I'm like, hey, I love the way you're growing there. I think if you like grow a little, if you like grow a little bit closer to the sun, I think you're gonna get a little more out of that. You get a little more fruit next spring or whatever. I don't know, whatever. Just like, just kind of like, but that's how we see everything. Right. But it was so hard for the first time in my life, like being on the sidelines as a dad.
Yeah.
And just like, I'm like, the first half of the season, probably majority of the season, it was just like, it was like JJ, relax, or really like, and then my youngest brother Jared, who, and he'll not trying to knock him or anything, but like, poor Jared, like we would go to his basketball games or whatever. The basketball game sticks out to me the most because that was one of the last things I remember going to watch him play and it was me, second oldest John, third oldest Joe, and it was sibling coaches from the sidelines. The worst, right? The worst, right? And it's like, shoot it, dude, what are you doing? Shoot it, like one of those things. Yeah. And like, he brought that up. He's like, James, every time anybody, when I was playing whatever sport, like they're like, relax, or like just relax, whatever, or just whatever you would say and tell them to do. Like it's like, especially you told me to relax, that made me mad. Like like just calm down, chill out. Like don't tell me to chill out. Like I'm mad, Yeah. And so just kind of was interesting because he would come to the games on Saturdays, and it was like therapy for me because I was like learning, like oh yeah. And then my mom's like, she's like, this is it. He's doing exactly the same things you did. He's acting the same. And she's like, again, going back to like with Lydia, it's like you're experiencing every new phase. You're experiencing brand new feelings, brand new everything, right? And so it's like, she's like, James, you just threw him in the middle of like 20 kids running around kicking stuff and like telling him like, don't feel anything, just relax, stay calm, meditate, like whatever, like just find find your zen, like just so just kind of man, it's the irony of what makes us great, and so like that coaching mentality is so good for so many things, and it's good for the kids, but it's like I don't know, man, like I've always looked at it like your greatest blessing is also your greatest curse. Like it's always,
I think as a kid, right, they want their parent in the stands though.
Correct.
And that's what I've learned, right? Because man, I was one of those guys, right? She's playing basketball and I'm cheering and I'm yelling and yelling her shoot it and all this stuff, and then I realized that it was having a negative effect, right? Like it was pressure. She felt like if she didn't score, right, like she was upset, and it's like, wait a minute.
It's not what you weren't.
It's not what I'm trying to project, right? I'm trying to project like all my years of competition and how, you should be at 11 years old, right? Yep. Because we know best, right? Another cool failure, right? But it's a failure forward because, I've learned that what I've learned is she just wants her dad in the stands, right? Her coach is on the sidelines. Yep. Right, so I just need to be the dad and just cheer, right? Her coaches are there, and You know, and I've seen it. You know, people laugh if your kids are older and in sports, you've seen some crazy stuff on sidelines, right?
Oh, yeah.
At games, and you know, people getting kicked out of 11-year-old basketball games. And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I had to check myself, and I was like, wait a minute here,
Yeah.
am I? You know, I just need to be the dad, and you know, one of the things she loves is when she's done playing, we're there, and she comes up and she hugs me.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, if that's my role in her athletic career, I'm great with
That's
that,
awesome.
right? Let her
That's awesome.
be coached by the coaches, and
Yeah.
you know, because they're going to tell her the same thing I told her, but it's going to be different from them
Correct.
because
Yep.
they're the coach and I'm the dad. So I just
Yep.
need to tell her I love her and
Yep.
that point out the things she did well.
Yep. That's awesome. I
Yeah.
like it. I like it, man. So yeah, so I guess that's kind of that's perfect segue into what I wanted to ask you next was, you know, just, you know, even if it's I'm just a dad in the stands, and that's what she needs. That's what she needs. So like, how do you want to be remembered as a dad?
Well, I don't want to be remembered for a long time, right? Like, let's not be remembered.
No dying allowed. No dying allowed. So yeah.
I'm not even halfway home to being remembered, but you know, it's a question, I think, James, that is going to change constantly, right, over time. But at the end of the day, I want to be remembered by her as somebody who she never had to question my love for her, right?
Yep.
And you know, I think that it's no matter your situation in life when you have kids, you know, if you're struggling with work or finances or your own personal issues, right? At the end of the day, if you could just love kids, right? That's what they need
That's
the
what
most.
that's all they want.
Right.
That's all they want. And two, you're talking to like, you know, I know sissy. I'm the, you know, like it's
yeah.
But again, I specifically wore a pink tie, you know, because we're
got
girl dads, you know. But like,
Yeah.
you know, it's because it's you know, ever since Julia was born, and it's like, you know, I was trying like I want her to like force her like to be a girly girl or anything like I just want her to be her and whatever.
Yeah.
But like, dude, like she just naturally like loves pink,
Yeah.
unicorns, glitter, stuff like that. She loves doing my makeup, like,
Yes.
and you know, so just but like,
Yeah.
but it's just wild because and I'm sure you've been there where you're in a non-kid situation, non-kid conversation, and you're just like, oh, that is the cutest, like,
Yeah.
oh, so cute, or like, so like, so but you know,
Yeah.
you know, but it is like, man, like being that girl dad, like it changes everything because you're dealing with something you just, you know, it's not that JJ, it's not like I have them all figured out, but it's like I can relate a little more. So it's like, but dude, they got us wrapped around their finger, and you want to, but also you're fighting that. You just want to jump on the court and like set the pick, and let her go around, and you know, get the score, and you know, just kind of.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think that, you know, I look at you as someone like, again, no dying allowed, but like it's just like you are so intentional with everything with your family.
So there was a time where, you know, when my daughter was young, right? Like I, you know, was overweight, really overweight.
Okay.
And I was never like that before. And then my daughter came, right? And, you know, I
Gotta
gained
get
all
that dad bod, man.
I
You gotta
gained
get
all
that
that
dad
baby
bod.
weight, right? And then she turns 3 and I still had it, and I had more, right? And I just wasn't like, I don't know, I wasn't the dad or the man I wanted to be at that moment. And it was like, so I made some changes. And
That's
I
awesome.
made those changes because, one, I don't want my daughter growing up thinking that that's okay for the man of the house to be.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Personal opinion. Not trying to offend anybody. It's not a weight thing. That was for me, it was the weight that triggered it, but it was more of my lifestyle and
right. You had kind of taken your hand off the wheel, like you kind of like you'd started to like let go the things that and talking about you were an athlete, right?
Yeah.
So like, and same thing with me. I was a college athlete, and I'm like, how am I unable to make time to work out when like that was I know what to do, I know how to do it, but it was more of an expectation that you had for yourself.
Yeah,
so,
for sure. And I knew
yeah.
I was better. I was
Right.
better when I was, motivated to exercise, be in whatever shape I was, right? It was, I've never been, in shape, but I've always been A shape, right? And then,
all about that. Get rid of the dad bod and become A shape. I love it. I love it. Yes. Whatever shape that is.
Whatever
That's
shape
awesome.
it is,
That's
right?
awesome.
But it's about, and that helped my mind, that helped me in all sorts of ways, right?
Right.
But I think when you talk about being remembered, if my daughter grows up understanding what healthy relationships are like, and her value, and she values herself and how she should be treated, that's success, right?
The ultimate win,
so,
yeah.
If, and again, right, like I love, we're at the phase now where I'll give my wife a kiss or something in the kitchen, right? And my daughter, oh, I'm eating, right? Like, it's like, yeah, you know what? Good, because I hope someday your husband shows you affection.
Right.
Right? Or just treats you right, listens to you, So I think that to be that day when I'm way down the road, when I'm remembered,
way down, baby,
right?
Way down.
I want her to feel like, remember me as somebody who was a good example of what a good healthy relationship, especially in this world where there's a lot of toxicity, right?
Yes. Yeah, and two, it's like, so we got the landscapers are here, so.
That's a good sign.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's
a good sign.
Good. So, but yeah, you just got to adapt to the situation. If you're a dad, you just got to make
it work.
Landscapers, no landscapers, whatever. Don't matter. But, yeah, man, you're like making me think of, gosh, it was 2 years ago now, like I lost 50 pounds and started working out. It's just weird because like I couldn't imagine how I was going to somehow work out every day to now where like I can't imagine like I don't feel right unless I have exercise, kind of thing. But it was how you're talking about, like it was just, it's wild how you have that aha moment where you're just like, it's not about you. It's about okay, I want to do something better because I want to have more down the road. So like one thing, like the thing that finally got me was like, dude, I was just like envisioning walking Julia down. If she never gets married or that's not her path, like that's fine. But like, I was like, I want to be able to walk her down the aisle
for sure,
and and be in shape to where like I can. I'm not like I'm not they're not worried about me falling over dead.
Right. Giving your oxygen to get the rest of the way.
Yeah, right. And just kind of like, it's like, man, the path I was on, it's like I was eating whatever, no exercise. Like it's again,
it's totally accepted.
There's no law against it, and it's but it's again, it's like no matter how you slice it, it's not healthy, right? It's not good for the longevity of your life. So it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, well, it was one of the absolute hardest things I ever had to do.
Yeah.
Was eating different and just like, like, okay, well, I'm so used to, never letting an email go unanswered for 24 hours. Well, I guess some emails are going to have to wait, you know what I mean? So
they can wait another hour while you exercise.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it just kind of like, I was like, the world didn't end when I was taking care of myself. And like you said, but now mentally I'm so much better and emotionally I'm so much better. Like everything that comes along with, it's not about being like in this, whatever these Instagram, posts are with everybody with their fake bodies and they're flexing. I do enjoy the posts that like some people make. It's like, this is what you see. Like this is the picture I post.
Oh yeah.
And there's this is the picture I don't. And you're like, okay, that shredded person also has a bunch of rolls in their belly. Okay, it's just like, all right, but just kind of like, again, doing it more like, obviously dads do it for you because be around as long as you possibly can, man, and just because there's just so much more just so much more fun stuff ahead, you know. So, but
and I want my daughter to see me always trying to be my best, my best self, right?
Yep.
Like I have to constantly evolve. If you want to be, depending on your goals, right, or what you want out of life, you know, you have to work on yourself. And if you work on yourself, by default, everybody around you is going to gain from that, right?
Yep.
And like you said, right, you have to, like, you take a back seat. You're not the priority anymore. Your family is, right?
Yep.
But you also have to be healthy in order to have a healthy family, right? If that makes sense.
Yep.
You know, you have to be doing the right things and making sure that your mental health is in the right spot and your, you know, emotional health, and that way you can help at home versus contribute to, you know, things. And so
I like it, man.
yeah, and I hope one thing I hope she remembers that I had more successes and failures when it came to being a dad, right?
Gotcha. Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Because you know, you gotta laugh, but you know, family for me is the top priority, and that means something different to everybody, right? You can encompass a lot. You can encompass your religious beliefs, your how you treat your family. Could be extended. It could be just who's under your roof. It could be, you know, anything, right? But for me, it's always making sure that my family is my top priority, and then my health, right? And if I feel like those two are intertwined, but if I put my health over my family, right, then am I really, you know, that's too much of the other way. So you got to take that back seat and let the family be the priority, and then right behind that is your own health. So that way you can be the best for your number one, right?
Yep. And it's, so you made me think of like, again, man, I was like, I'm not in bad shape now, but I remember I still like will go back to the progress pictures that I had of like, it was like end of 2021. I'm like, whoa, that was, dude, I had abs, I was shredded, you know, like, and but that was cool, right?
Yeah.
But what was happening last, so I relaxed a little bit last year, but I remember like, so we were like coming back from like the Strawberry Festival in Kirtland this past summer, and it just clicked. I'm like, coming back from the Strawberry Festival the year before, Erica and I were fighting, and because I'm like, I gotta eat, like I need a meal, like I gotta like, so like just, but then it like brought back all the other things that just like, you know, Erica being like, can we just eat someplace normal? Like, can we just, you know, and so just, you know, like not saying, hey, being healthy isn't important anymore, but like if it's starting to be toxic,
right? Yeah,
in your
takes over the family.
I mean, so it's like, you know, unless Erica is all about eating grilled chicken and rice every meal, like, you know, like this probably not the best for me to be doing that. And so just
some of the coolest moments, right, with my kid has been over a bowl of ice cream.
Yep.
And
it's so good.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Right? Like,
it's okay.
You know,
it just, especially too, like JJ or Julie, like they'll like whether it's ice cream or like and I 90% of the time like, oh, I already had some, or like you know, but it was, you know, it's like that's something I've tried to do, is like, do whatever they're eating, just if they're offering it, have a bite, and they talk about the joy and seeing that, like they are so happy.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, it's like they feel like, oh yeah, I just, you know, Dad was hungry, now I fed him, or like, now Dad likes what I like, or whatever. But like,
they're happy they made you happy.
Yes.
Right? And that's because they see you happy when you make them happy. They're just reciprocating what you're doing.
Yep.
Right? In their own cool little kid way.
Man.
Right?
And if it happens to be ice cream, then, you know, hey,
cool.
There's no better way to do it. You know? So
ice cream does it.
That's awesome. Very good, man. So what's, I guess, in that same thread, being remember, like what's on your dad bucket list? Like what's?
Oh, my dad bucket list, huh? That's it. I mean, I have a family bucket list that I have, right?
Yeah.
And I know that's not the question.
Well, I guess so. Just think of it as just more of, if it's a family thing, if it's a personal thing, it's a father-daughter, like whatever it is, like just.
just not screw it up.
Right?
Especially
Screw it
these
up.
years that we're coming
Yeah,
up
man.
to, right?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think my bucket list is just to be there, right? To be able to have a lifestyle that I am present in, and my daughter eventually realizes that,
Yes.
right? Like, holy cow. You know, I've had these same thoughts
Roughly
about...
13, 14, 15 years from now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've had these same thoughts personally about my life. It's like, man, boy, did I take that for granted, right? I mean, my parents are awesome.
Yep.
And I was kind of a little jerk for a lot of time, right?
Yeah.
And maybe little is not telling the whole truth, right? But, you know, and I look back and it was like, wow, man, I had great parents, right?
Yeah.
I have great parents. They're both still alive, thankfully.
Yeah. Well, it's like you and I both won the lottery of life.
Right.
You know, and again, big reason for why we're doing this is like having a positive role model in the form of a mom or a dad like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I didn't know any different. Right. Luckily, it was a huge blessing that we didn't know like how good we had it as parents, but it was, you still, like, whether your parents suck or they're the best or anywhere between, it's kind of natural to be like, you know, like, just like, you know, don't tell me what to do, you know. But, yeah, man.
Yeah, I never had to question if I was loved, right?
Yes.
You know, and I still don't. And, you know, no matter what environment you do grow up in, if you're a parent now, right, or an adult now, right, it's up to you.
Yes.
You have the choice.
Yeah.
So there's no, well, this is the way I was raised. I mean, just because we were fortunate to be raised in a loving household doesn't make us any better than anybody else or any worse, right? It's just, we saw what that was like, but you have it takes very little effort to make the choice to love a child, right? In the way that they feel loved, right? And that's what I feel like, you know, when my daughter's 30 years old and she's figuring out life herself, right? That she's like, just appreciates how her childhood, right?
Yep.
And, you know, I don't know. I think that's good. Not just waiting for the inheritance, right? Because I'm spending that.
No, let's go. Yeah,
I'm blowing that before she gets it. So
yeah, I think I can't remember. I think it's one of Erica's grandparents. They had like a little, like, you know, decorative pillows. Like it says, like, I'm out, you know, outspending my kid's inheritance or something like that. So, but yeah.
And I want my parents to spend
it all,
right?
Man.
Like, don't,
spend it all.
Enjoy it, you know, and have experiences, right? You know, and like with my kid, I want to just provide her with plenty of experiences so she can form her opinions or views, right, based on
experience, not on others' opinions, kind of thing.
Others' opinions, the TV, right? You know, or what she's hearing in future years of education, right? I mean, there's a lot of great stuff, but I just want her to have enough experiences in life to know that she's always got the right to choose, right? For her, and you know, it's the world we live in, right?
I like it, man. Well, it's like you're empowering her, right?
Hope so.
Right?
Hopefully it's not enabling. Hopefully it's empowering.
Right? Yeah. It's a fine line, dude.
Yeah. No, I really just, I think that, you know, when the dad bucket list, right, is, I don't know, it's just continuously growing and just having her realize that, I did have it good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then telling me that.
Yeah. No pressure.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Yeah. Lydia, if you ever watch this,
just
recognize, dear.
Make a little note. in your kid folio. Well, cool, man. Well, I guess last thing we always ask is, you know, what's like your dad mantra or saying, or like, do you have like a dad creed that you have? Like what kind of your motto, so to speak?
No, I don't know if I don't know. I feel like it changes with, maybe, you know, like it changes with what the the phase that we're in life, right? Like
Right,
right
yeah.
now, it's, there was a time where, my daughter's got some food allergies, and she would eat something and come home and be sick from it, and she'd be like, "Why did they give that to me?" And it was like, no. Why did you take it?
Yeah,
Right?
gotcha.
You're responsible for
Yeah.
you, right? So
Yeah.
I feel like that's always going to change, right? Like, in sports, it's like, hey, get it, girl, right?
Mhm.
Like, don't hold back,
Yeah.
go out, be coachable, and get it. So, I really I think it all depends for me on what situation we're in to try and develop a saying or a mantra that helps is
Gotcha.
a healthy response trigger for her, right?
Okay.
And me,
Yeah.
right? To
Yeah.
just, hey, step back. You're the dad, not the coach.
Yeah.
I don't know. Don't screw it up. That's
Yeah, don't
there's
screw
my
it up.
mantra. Right?
Don't screw it up.
Yeah.
I like.
Don't screw it up too bad.
No, no, that's awesome, man. Well, awesome. Well,
What's yours?
Mine, my kind of like my mantra, or whatever you call it. There's a poem by Ralph Waldo Emerson called "Success," and just kind of like, the irony of it all was like I look back at, I was just so driven to be successful, and I never like stopped to be like, well, what is that? Like, what, like what is success? And so like just kind of always just, getting to that point where it's like, okay, well now my business card says I'm successful. I got, I'm not living in my grandma's basement anymore. I got my own place. I got a car that doesn't break down in people's driveways when I'm trying to do business with them. So it's like I, started, you start checking those boxes of that you're supposed to or should for success, and kind of, man, I got like trapped and caught up in the kind of that fake success, or that surface level society commercial, commercialized success.
Right.
And I was miserable, man, miserable. But it was, my grandfather passed away, and he had that poem hanging in his office. My grandma let me have it, but it was like, dude, I would start bawling my eyes out. Like when I was, it's a lot, it's got the whole poem, but the last line, man, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Was, to know one life has breathed easier because you lived. This is to have succeeded. And so just that has been something that has been a constant, thing where I try to like that, like when I try to make, my algorithm as to like, why would I do this, right? Like, why would I be like pull you out of your life to like be like, hey man, it's just, if one person's life can, if one person can breathe a little easier because I was there, then that's it. And
where they saw this and it helped them with their kid, right? Holy cow, is that successful? Then you'll never know about it.
Never know. But that's the point too. Is like, it's not like, it's not about me. It's not about getting anything. It's about
not about
giving,
recognition, right?
And so I think too, just like with JJ and Julia, like how you're trying, like the dance of, I want their life to be better. But I also, it's like, I'm not trying, like, this is like, Erica's pregnant with JJ. Like, JJ's not even born. I remember I was sitting in the living room, sitting on the couch, and just for whatever reason, again, I'm stressing out. Like, I'm stressing out about, like, okay, well, what about this? What about, like, you're, like, trying to, like, you're worried because, like, okay, I'm going to have a kid, and what's it going to be like? And I just remember, because, like, for us growing up, it was, like, you learn pretty quickly, don't ask for stuff. Not because mom and dad are mean or they don't want to get, it's just, we can't afford it. Like, we can't, like, just, hey, if you want something, like, get it, I got a paper out when I was 9 and just kind of pretty much paid for the majority of, like, everything myself from there. But, like, so I, like, started thinking about that and just about, like, and even now I have to catch myself. Because, like, whatever JJ and Julia, like, we're out and about, and like, you want that? Okay, so just kind of, but I was like having this, it was like a daydream that it turned into a nightmare. It's like, it's me yelling at JJ about like, you don't know what it's like. You don't know, like, you don't know how hard mom had to work to get here. You know how hard dad had to work. And just, But you know what I mean? Like
expecting him to understand that,
right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm yelling at this kid that isn't even born yet in my head, and like, you know, so but just
You have no
but I
idea,
think
kid.
yeah, but like this right, the unborn child I'm already yelling at, but
Yeah.
like stay calm, right? So like the staying calm and like but you know, it is one of those things where it's like you want them to have a better life, but it's also you want them to be appreciative of it. Like your bucket, right? Like I want her to appreciate what she had. Like that doesn't mean like she owes us anything, right?
Nothing.
She doesn't
Nope.
owe you a thing, but just know that yeah, just there was a lot of work that went into it. And even like one thing I started doing is like when I take the kids wherever we are, you know, whatever store we're at, like whatever we're buying, like if it's like, hey, does coffee cost money? Yeah, okay. So do we have to go to work and do our chores at work and work really hard at work to get money to pay for this coffee? Yeah. And so just when we're buying, but also too, I started giving them, and I use Erica makes fun, makes them all, you know, I want to pay my credit card for everything because I get the cash back and get the points, you know, like it's all about those points. But so I have them actually like pay for whatever we're buying, and I, you know, so just kind of like them starting to, it's been cool to kind of see them start to connect the dots of like, this is a free ride, right? This is, but it's,
Right.
but our neighbors, they're awesome. They brought over like a little like, you know, Easter basket, and one of the eggs for each of them had 2 singles, like this, so like at $2. So took them out a little day, and everywhere we went to Lowe's to get, it was just doing like running errands, but I was like, everywhere we went, I'm like, do you want to use your money for this? Because like Juliet had her purse with their $2, and JJ's got his wallet, and like, and like no, and then we went to Willoughby Pulp to get smoothies, and I was like, JJ, like, hey man, this is your idea to get some smoothies. Like, you wanna help pay for it? He's like, nah, Dad, I don't want to waste my money. And that was kind of like what JJ was saying all day, like, oh no, Dad, I don't want to waste my money. So I'm like, okay, well, cool, we're there. But I was like, it made me laugh. But he was just like, he's like, no, Dad, don't waste my money. He's like, I just want to waste yours. It's like, I'm like, awesome. So it's kind of so I guess it's you do the best you can with, you know, like, I don't know, I think that's what's hard is like there's so much that our kids have done wrong, not in real life, but in our head, right? And like because it's, you know, because you're like you're trying, the coach, right? You're trying to anticipate and go through different scenarios, and you're like, and it's like Lydia, JJ, and Julia, they were sleeping. They weren't even awake, and we're having this thing, and then like they wake up, and you're trying to let go of that.
Right. They're happy,
right? And they're like, hey, what's going on, Dad? And you're just like, oh no,
we got to talk about yesterday.
Yesterday in my head you were doing this. Yeah. So, but yeah, man, no, I think that's so. Thank you for asking that. I'm sorry, I just kind of made this about me here, but just yeah, man, just no, if I can just pass on that mindset and kind of way of life is to like it's not about the what, right? It's not about the what you get, the what you do, and but it is about the who you are, right? You know, who you are as a giving, loving person. Like, you are gonna get burned so many times. You're gonna get taken advantage of. Like, that's, you know, Erica makes
give freely, right?
Yeah, Erica's like, James, she's like, you don't see that glass half full with people. Like, you meet someone brand new, like they start half full with me. She's like, Erica's like, they start half full. If they build my trust, I fill it up. Right. If I'm losing trust, I dump it out, right?
Dump a little out.
But you, Jay, is like, you meet someone for 4 seconds and the glass is like overflowing, and then it's just like, you know, like they're doing stuff, and like you know, you're pouring it out like you're supposed to, but the other hand is pouring it back in, like, oh well, you know, they were nice this one time, reasons, you know, like oh, so just kind of but just, I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way, if that makes sense. I've definitely learned a lot, and there's a lot of things I won't do again, but just, you know, betting everything on good people to be the solution for so many things. Like, that's it. So
yeah, I told Lydia one time
we're back.
She was having an issue, right, with another kid that you were friends with, right? And you know, but this kid started kind of like going and doing things that my daughter wasn't into, and was, they started being real selfish, and my daughter's like, well, I don't want to be friends anymore. I'm like, that's okay.
Right.
And I go, but what I told her was, you don't have to be friends with somebody to be kind to them.
Say that again.
Right? You don't have to be. I taught her. I said, and after it came out of my mouth, I was like, hey, Eric, why don't you start listening to yourself? Right? Like, I'm the perfect example of, do as I say, not as I do, right?
Yeah.
So I told her, and I was like, you don't have to be friends with somebody to be kind to them. Because this day and age, right, if we can raise kind people, not weak people.
Right.
By any means. Being kind is not being weak.
Being kind is one of the toughest things you have to
100%.
do.
So now she has this in her head that, well, yeah, I don't have to be your friend, but I can be nice to you.
Right. Yeah.
And she absolutely can, right? Because a lot of that for me was because it was taking up her brain space, because she was upset about it. And it's okay, let's talk about why you're upset. But at the end of the day, right, the more you give life to that, the more you're not focused on the good that you're dealing with in life. So even if you're not friends with them, just be kind to them, and then you don't have to give them. You don't have all those negative thoughts rolling around your head. Yep. So your brain's free to be free, right?
That's awesome.
So, did I ever tell you when she was 8 years old and you're talking about money, right?
Yeah.
I think she was 8 and she wanted to start doing stuff around the house, like chores. And I'm like, we should do stuff around the house because you live here.
Yeah.
That's right? So I made her.
My day, we just did chores to do chores, right?
Right.
But
I wrote a job description for the family sanitation specialist, and I made her interview, right? We look at this document, right? Because I was like, hey, if you want paid, I'm gonna, So I thought I had it all figured out, but that's
awesome.
It was awesome, but it also is, I think, more for me than anything, right?
Well, I think what's cool though is like, and it's cliche, and I'm assuming it's probably like every generation thinks that the generation behind them is like, they don't work hard, they they think they deserve more, blah blah, but like
they're always on Insta Talk or whatever.
Whatever that is,
Facegram.
Facegram.
Yeah.
But like, I caught myself too, just like, a year or two ago, when it was just kind of like, basically, they're paying insane amount of money, at least to me, to people right out of college, good for them, right? But like, just like the amount of money people wanted just cause I graduated, right? And I was that when I graduated college, I'm like, well, where's my 6 figures, right? Like, and then it was there, but found that out. But her understanding that you sort of begin the process of, to get X amount of dollars, if you're not qualified for it, eventually you're going to lose that job, right? But if you can prove that, hey, I am a qualified candidate for this job, committed, and and I understand what is the job, what am I actually applying for, what am I actually getting into, so that's cool. I remember you telling me that, and so I'm glad you brought it up. And now I'm glad we have it recorded and on the internet, to like, basically, so I'm like, man, what did Eric do? Like, but like when you told me that, I'm like, oh, I have to do that.
Well, and now, right, I think it's funny because like kids, right, they'll do anything, right, for like any odd job for money. Mm-hmm. And this past year, right, because my daughter, right, she's at that age, right, where things are weird, right? Hormones, some days, she might be one day she's a kid, the next day she's, like 18 years old telling me how life is. And that's like, whoa. Yeah. So, and she was talking about money and, wanting to buy stuff. And so we started that book club.
That's right.
So instead of me just putting her to work, right, I was like, man, why wouldn't I let her bring back to me what she's learning from real books? And they have that 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens.
That's right.
Which is the Sean Covey's, or Stephen Covey's son, the son of the Coveys is the one who wrote that, and she's been getting through it slowly, because she's got other schoolwork and other books that they're reading for school, but to me, that was a good use of, hey, if I'd rather pay her to do that also than just work, right? So she can
Right.
realize that, she gains a lot more from that too.
Well, it's she's getting rewarded for learning extremely meaningful things that they're not in the textbook.
Mm-mm.
I mean, but it's like talking about for her sports.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's probably the best thing for her sports, reading that book. The best thing for her as a human being is to read that book. The best thing for her as a daughter, just to read that book, and not that taking out the garbage isn't a good thing
It's
to
important.
do. Right? It's important.
Yeah,
but
you got to do physical stuff.
I have yet to go to the street and come back and be like, wow, that changed my life. Right? My perspective has just been completely changed. Right?
But if she's motivated to read a book like that and takes one nugget,
one thing, that's it.
It could be a 500-page book, right? If she takes one nugget and she reads, say over the course of the next 10 years, she reads 30 of these books. That's 30 nuggets.
Yeah.
That's 30 little tiny things that totally change her course,
Everything.
right? And how she views things and how she looks at stuff, right? And it's cool. Hopefully it pays off.
Is she allowed to do audiobooks?
We haven't gone there yet.
Okay.
She's still, she doesn't have a phone yet.
Okay.
So, she's got like an iPad, but she doesn't know, she doesn't do a lot of that stuff.
Gotcha.
Yet. So
Okay.
she's not real into the tech. We've kind of, our personal choices. This is one thing my wife and I are absolutely on the same page about. But I think we have to change that soon, right? Because as she is now, we're seeing her with sports and being gone and stuff.
Yep.
The benefits outweigh it, and we just have to work together on it. In fact, you'll love this. She was asking me all these questions about what it's going to be like when she gets a phone, right? And how it's going to be.
It's going to be stressful. It's going to be never ending.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. I'm
it's the worst.
So I looked at her and I said, honey, honestly, I've never been a 12-year-old girl with a cell phone. So I don't know. But I'll tell you what, as a family, we're going to learn together what it's like to have a cell phone as a kid, right? And she was like, oh, okay.
Yep.
Right, that makes sense, because I can't answer something now for a year from now.
Yeah.
But, and again, I don't know what it's like to be a 12-year-old girl with a cell phone.
Yep.
I didn't have a cell phone, James, till I was 24, 25 years old.
Yeah, I think I was 21.
Were you?
21, yeah. Yep. Yeah. I would, meet a girl, whatever, and they're like, "What's your number?" And I would give it to them. I'm like, and press 1. That's my mailbox. Give the dorm room number. And, dude, they would give me this look and be like, "You could have told me you didn't like me," and walk away. All right, just kind of So, but so the cell phone took a while, but man,
I'd have to give my house phone. Right?
Yeah,
leave a message after the beep.
Leave a message. That was and then you'd be on the phone and someone else would pick up and oh man, yes, good times.
It's gonna be fun. I'm really looking forward though to these next few years, right? As stressful as they're gonna be, right? I want to stay calm, right? We'll come right back to the beginning where we started today.
Stay calm.
Right? Stay calm and just be able to be there. Because if I don't stay calm, I'm not gonna be able to think clearly. And if she's going through her stuff, she's definitely not thinking clearly.
Yeah.
So one of us needs to be, right?
Somebody's
got
right.
to. Either that or I'll just go golfing and Lauren can handle it.
There you go. We'll do but definitely, I think that female brain book is going to be important, man.
That'll be helpful.
Good. Sorry.
No, any nugget there is.
That will help you stay calm. That will say this is exactly what's going through. This is the chemical reaction that is happening right now. Is that what you don't see it as that's the thing. I started to see things not as what's happening outside, but I started seeing things as how they were happening inside. I'm this is.
And it's normal.
This is normal.
It's the way
completely normal.
Yeah, it's the way we're designed, right? And when you look at it from that, it's kind of like when she comes home from school and for that 1 year we just would lose it for the first 30 minutes, right? It's this is normal. This is normal. This is healthy and normal.
Yep.
Right? Oh, wow.
Yeah. it's fun being a parent.
It
Fun
is.
being a parent.
It is.
Like, oh my gosh.
This conversation made me appreciate my parents a little more today.
Yes. So hopefully this has helped everybody appreciate what it took to get you to where you're at. And thank you so much, man. I appreciate it, brother, and always enjoy our talks. Like I said, you've been a huge inspiration for the Dad Poet Society even becoming a thing. So. And you're a true example of someone who is all about Carpe the Dad Life. You are seizing the dad life in a very big way.
We're trying.
So that's all.
Fail forward.
Fail forward, man. Fail forward. Seize forward. Dad life forward. But thank you everybody for being here again. Seize the dad life. There is no better life, and we'll catch you next time.